music this morning. And I'm back. I'm so glad to be back. Wow. You know, we've had a week here, and it's been great. We got to see a lot of Yakima and went to the museum with the board, the Yakima Native Museum, and saw a lot of history there and learned a lot about the Yakima tribe. And then we went to eat lunch at Fire and Water. Wow, nice restaurant. Nice restaurant. And I thought a little bit about Fire and Water and the significance of that name of that restaurant. It's like Fire and Water. They're both very powerful energies. And they both have both destructive and constructive energy. Fire can warm your hands, it can cook your food, but it can also destroy houses. Same with water. Water can irrigate your crops and give you water to drink, but it also flood. So I just like that concept of fire and water, and then that's kind of the paradox in life, is that we have these contrasting elements going on within us. And so what we come to learn is through spirituality, through having a community, we get to really embrace the energy of spirit. And when we do that, everything flows. Everything flows in a positive direction. So it's been a great week here in Yakima. Really appreciate the town and all the friendliness of the people here. And, it's been a wonderful experience. Come to really enjoy your town very much. I want to tell a story this morning. I want to start with a story about Katie, Caterpillar Katie, actually. I don't think any of you know Caterpillar Katie, but she's actually a Unity student. Did you know that? Caterpillar Katie, yeah, she's a Unity student. She studied Unity truths, and she meditates and prays and does her affirmations. But for some reason or another, she can't seem to evolve. She can't seem to get into that process of metamorphosis where she's developing into a butterfly. And she feels stuck. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that. And when you're on a spiritual path, yeah, initially it's great. You know, you learn all these ideas about positive thinking, and you learn how to work the 5 principles of unity, and you go to classes, and it's like, wow, things are really going great, aren't they? And then you might kind of hit a rough spot, and that's where you have to kind of work through it and really rely on spirit. And that's what happened to poor Caterpillar Katie. She got into a rough spot, and she kind of felt stuck. And then the worst part of it really is that she began to blame herself. You know, and she started thinking, I'm doing something wrong. I'm not evolving. I must be doing something. Maybe it's my family of origin. Maybe that's what it was. They didn't treat me right. I didn't have a good background. My parents were dysfunctional. You know, they didn't treat me well as a child. They didn't give me room to expand and grow. Poor Caterpillar Katie, she just got really hard on herself. And sooner or later, she finally said to herself, you know, I realize I'm stuck, and I'm just going to have to accept the fact that I'm a caterpillar, and I'm never going to evolve. Wow. But I can learn to love myself just the way I am. I'm a caterpillar, but I can learn to love myself the way I am. And when she said that, and when she really let go, she really had this moment of total surrender. And when she did, you know, this chrysalis formed around her, and her body began to reshape inside. And all of a sudden, she had these wings and she could fly. She became a butterfly. And I wonder sometimes if that might happen to us. So I want to ask you this morning, who wants to be a butterfly? You got to come up. If you want to be a butterfly, you got to come up. All right. We have room for 3. We got 2 coming. We have 1 more. All right.
I thought it was real for a second.
There you go, Harlan. Lisa,
Thank you.
come on up.
All right, come on.
So we're going to do a pledge. We're going to do a pledge. We're going to say a little pledge, and this is how the pledge goes. It says, I know I'm a butterfly. I know I'm a butterfly.
I know I'm a butterfly.
And I always will be.
And I always will be.
Devoted to unity principles.
Devoted to unity principles.
Okay, guys, you have to pin that on your little lapel if you can, or your t-shirt. Beautiful. You may be seated. You know, that process, it's so poignant because when that chrysalis, I don't know how many of you are biology students, I'm sure some of you are, and you know the stages of egg and larva is the caterpillar, and then the caterpillar forms this chrysalis around itself. And when it does that, the body within the chrysalis just totally disintegrates and rearranges itself before the butterfly comes out. And then the butterfly comes out and it flies away and begins that process all over again of laying eggs. But the key part there is that within has to be totally rearranged. And I think that's what sometimes trips us up a little bit, is knowing that we have to fully let go. Now, in Lessons in Truth, Emily Cady says it this way. And I think it's also a matter of willingness. And here's what Emily Cady says. You are a vessel. When the time comes, let go cheerfully, without humiliation or shame or a sense of failure. And see, that's, what Katie was doing. She was getting down on herself. Have any of you ever been down on yourself? No way. No. And you have to release this tense, rigid, mortal grasp on some particular form of manifestation, such as healing. So I think we all want to experience healing. We all want to experience more. We all want to be fully alive. We all want to be fully awake. The thing is, we can't get there through our intellect. There's this process that we have to go through. Just like the metamorphosis of a butterfly. There has to be this letting go, this catharsis within us where we let go absolutely and trust Spirit. And then something happens. You will do works in one specific direction that will simply be marvelous. Just like that process of becoming a butterfly. The butterfly is marvelous. It flies off and it starts the process again. You will do that as well when you're able to really let go. These works will be, here's the best part, these works will be done without effort on your part. So you can tell if you really let go. If you're striving believe me, I've been there where I was striving and trying to make things happen and wanting to do a better job as a minister and trying everything I could intellectually think of except to surrender, to let go. And they can be done without any effort on your part because they will be of God. You will be of God. And we know in unity that you're already of God, but you will be consciously aware that you are of God. I can remember sitting with my mom in the Baptist church when I was a little boy, and they would sing, I surrender all. Anybody know that song? She'd just cry like a baby. And I didn't know what was going on. And I just sit there looking at her crying. I was like, what is going on? Now I get it. You know, surrender is probably the hardest thing we have to do as grown-ups. It's probably the hardest thing we have to do is to surrender and to let go of all our old ideas. In the 12 steps, they say, you have to let go of your old ideas absolutely. That doesn't mean you can hang on to some of your old ideas and others you don't. It means letting go completely. And so we get to this third principle, that the thoughts and beliefs that you hold in your mind about life and about yourself create your experiences. So these thoughts that we're holding create our experiences. Wow. It's the third step. Third principle. What does that mean to you? Well, think about it. If it were really that easy, wouldn't everybody do that? I mean, if you could just think, you know, like Think and Grow Rich, think your way into, you know, a positive career, think your way into a good relationship. It all sounds so easy, you know, but it isn't. Because we're using our minds. And what happens if our minds aren't right? I had a mentor, Dorothy, and she said, an ill mind can't heal an ill mind. Many, many years ago, I had an ill mind. And I needed meditation. I needed prayer. I needed nurturing. I needed relationships that were healthy and kind and loving. I didn't need self-criticism. I didn't need to be hard on myself. I mean, I knew how to do that. Some of you might know how to do that. It's about letting go and being in the present moment. And that's what we tried to do in the meditation this morning. We tried to let go and get to that place of oneness. See, when Katie finally surrendered and said to herself, I might as well accept myself the way I am. How are you this morning? How are you this morning? Where are you this morning? It doesn't mean accepting, you know, the good parts and this and that, but it means accepting all of it. It means accepting maybe that little disagreement you've got going with a friend. It means accepting that. It means accepting every aspect of your life, every aspect of your personality, all of your relationships, accepting them. So your heart's not engaged by your intellect. All of the effort, we can't do it through our minds. At a point, it becomes futile. All the efforts that Katie made to transform were really pointless until she surrendered, until she let go. So, if Spirit could transform Katie into a butterfly, surely Spirit can transform you as well. And, you know, in Unity they talk about becoming all of what you were intended to be. They don't talk about in Unity becoming what you want to be. They talk about becoming everything that you're meant to be. And what you're meant to be are human beings that are fully expressing Spirit. That's what you're meant to be. Human beings fully expressing Spirit. And that's who you are. You are Spirit. See, the key is it's really a subtle shift. It's very subtle. It's shifting from self-reliance to God-reliance. A lot of times we don't realize how self-reliant we are. We don't realize how much we rely on our intellect. But there's another saying, keep doing the same thing over and over again, you keep getting the same results until you can just let go. Become more God reliant. Katie says, all I had to do was nurture and cultivate the love of God. I put myself under the care of the divine. I put myself under the loving care of the divine spirit. God does the rest. You know, in unity, here's another tricky part. They say we are co-creators with God, right? From my viewpoint, co-creating means we're the co-pilot. You know, the co-pilot doesn't fly the plane unless the pilot has a heart attack and dies, right? We all know that. So we are co-creating in the sense that we are co-creators with God. We are, in a sense, cooperating with Spirit. So that requires willingness to allow Spirit to work through us. And to become, I don't think God's going to send you to Nigeria to be a missionary. I'm not saying that. But hey, it might be not bad. I don't know. It's all a matter of willingness. It's all a matter of being willing. So we are the co-pilots cooperating with God's intention in our lives. And God just intends for you to be happy and joyous and free. And so we get to reframe who we are. We get to reframe it and see we're awakening from a dream of limitation. In Hinduism, they call it Maya, M-A-Y-A. It means there's this illusion that we're separate. There's this illusion that we are independent. We're on our own. That we're not as one. And we better get our you-know-what together, right? We better get it together before it's too late. And that's just the opposite of what we're talking about this morning. What we're talking about this morning is becoming more dependent on Spirit. Trusting Spirit. I want to read one other thing from my good buddy. I say good buddy, I wish he was my good buddy. He is a good buddy to a lot of people. Eckhart Tolle from Oneness of All Life. He's not too far. He's up in Vancouver. Instead of being lost in your thinking, when you awaken, you recognize yourself as the awareness behind it. You're the awareness behind the thought. Thinking then ceases to be a self-serving, autonomous activity that takes possession of you and runs your life. Anybody relate to this? Awareness takes over from thinking. Instead of being in charge of your life, thinking becomes the servant of awareness. So all of a sudden now, we have this awareness of Spirit, of this presence, and through that awareness and Spirit and the presence of God, our thoughts come through that instead of from our intellect. We begin to lead a totally different life, a renewed life. Awareness is conscious connection with universal intelligence. Another word for it is presence. Universal consciousness, which is Spirit, which is God, which is one. And so that's what we're talking about this morning. We're going beyond our conscious thinking and living from that awareness of who we truly are. You know, and that's why we have a spiritual community, right? So this spiritual community represents oneness, because you're just an aspect, or I shouldn't say just, you are an aspect of this community as you sit here this morning. So the more you can surrender to the energy in this community, the further you can go. And that surrender may mean, coming in early and preparing snacks or making coffee or doing platform or whatever it is that Spirit calling you to do, or just simply being and bringing your energy here and surrendering to that and not trying to be unique or stand out or any of that. Just being here and being supported by this community, you grow. You grow more into that awareness of Spirit. Does that make sense? Unity's third principle. The thoughts and beliefs that we hold in our minds create our reality. As we transform, just like Katie, we will overcome those self-limiting thoughts and live more in the kingdom. So we all have self-limiting thoughts to some degree. The healthiest, person on earth still self-limiting doubt, fear, anxiety, whatever that might be. We can overcome that and be more aware of living in the kingdom. What is the kingdom? The kingdom is all around us. Is that what Jesus said? The kingdom is all around and within each of us. It's a very subtle shift, a small shift in your consciousness. And it takes you from being self-centered to being God-centered. What am I going to wear today? Who am I going to talk to today? Where am I going to go today? What am I going to have for breakfast? What am I going to do for dinner? How are the kids going to be? And you can move away from that more into an awareness that Spirit will support me this day. And I can come here on Sunday and celebrate the awareness that I am one with Spirit, and all these other people here are on that path with me. It's pretty amazing. As you transform from who you think you are to a clearer understanding of yourself, guess what? Guess what you experience? Growth pains. There are growth pains. And but yet we're here to support each other through that. That's why we come together again in a community where you can share, hey, guess what I experienced this week? I went through this really weird encounter with my boss. Sit down and grab somebody on Sunday morning. Oh, really? How'd that go? Well, here's what happened. And have somebody really listen to you. Really listen. Nurturing, that's what we want this community to be. Nurturing, supportive, and to tell you the truth. Even though sometimes the truth might be a little rocky, you might get your feelings hurt a little bit, but to tell you in a loving way. Don't you want to hear the truth about what you're going through and what you're experiencing? Wouldn't you rather hear it here from one of these people that's on a similar path than you would from someone that's not? The truth about life, the truth about Spirit. So I have an affirmation for you this morning. You ready for an affirmation?
Yes.
I am transforming into a butterfly. Can we say that? I am transforming into a butterfly, one stage at a time.
One stage at a time.
There's this old Buddhist saying, before enlightenment, anybody want to be enlightened? I do. Before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. Carry the water, right? After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. But guess what? The experience is entirely different. It's an entirely different experience. You will chop wood and carry water with much joy. You will chop wood and carry water with much joy. And the choir is going to come up in a minute and sing All You Need Is Love. How many were here last week? Okay. Choir's going to come up in a minute and sing All You Need Is Love. And I wanted to, before they sang it, with your permission, I'd like to go through it. Is that okay? So it's written by John Lennon. We were talking about it before service. And it goes, love, love, love. All you need is love. And here's the lyrics, and I'm going to try to explain them to the best of my ability so that the song hopefully will resonate more with you. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing that one threw me, I'll be honest. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. So what I think he is saying in that statement, there's nothing you can do that can't be done. If there's room enough in the universe for however you are going to express. So if you ever felt like you just don't fit in, well, I think what he's saying is you do fit in. So there's nothing you can do that can't be done. So whatever you're doing is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Does that make sense? Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. So any song that you're going to sing, it can't be sung. It's validating. It's validating to your soul to know that whatever song that you sing, you're singing it the right way because you're singing it because of who you are. There's nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. You don't have to say anything, but you can still learn how to live life. You can still learn how to play the game. Nothing you can make that can't be made. No one can save that can't be. No one you can save that can't be saved. There's no one you can save that can't be saved. So in other words, you're working with someone and you're helping them see the light, but it's not you, it's them that's seeing the light. You're the facilitator, but they're seeing it. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. So in time, you can really learn how to be you. And I think that's so important. Because there's no limit to learning more and more about who you are. You think, oh, I know myself pretty well. Maybe. But there's more. There's more to you than you think. And you can learn how to be more of you in time. All you need is love. All you need is love. There's nothing, I love this one. There's nothing you can know that isn't known. So, you're not coming up with something that hadn't been thought of before, but it's you. You're thinking of it. There's nothing you can see that isn't shown. There's nothing you can see that's not shown. There's nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. So you're meant to be here this morning. You can't be somewhere else because you're here. You're here this morning. So be fully present. Be fully aware. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need. So now I'm going to invite the choir up to sing it, if it's time. And you get the musical rendition of it. And I want to thank you again for hosting us this past 2 weeks. It's really been delightful. Thank you.
Thank you.